Hi everybody, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Karinmaria, and tonight I'll be making quick cook fudge. I had a viewer contact me and said that she needed to make a really simple dessert, and was there anything that I could show her? I gave it some thought and I came up with this one because it's just 3 ingredients. So won't you join me? Usually I only show my own recipes, but tonight I'm going to show a recipe that you can find right on the back of your Nestle's chocolate chip morsels packaging. The reason I'm doing this is because my blog this week is about places to find good recipes. And the back of packaging is a place where you can often find very simple recipes. This one is super simple because, like I said, it's only 3 ingredients. You're going to use 1 bag of these semi-sweet morsels, or you could use milk chocolate morsels, whichever one you decide. You're also going to be using 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, and then be adding a little vanilla. So this is really, really simple. Now, a traditional fudge is a little bit more complicated. You would normally be mixing milk, sugar, and butter. You'd want to heat it up to the right temperature, and you'd be using a candy thermometer. This is so much easier because basically all you're doing is melting your chocolate chips. You'll want to get a heavy pot. I'm just going to use a Dutch oven and melt your chips right in there. And then when you're done with that, you're just going to add the 2 other ingredients. The last step, which I'm going to be showing you in a minute, is you'll just spray your casserole dish and then pour your fudge right in, set it in your refrigerator, and let it harden. I really like this recipe because by being a little bit creative, you can do all types of various takes on this recipe. Sometimes I like to add white chocolate chips, sometimes I go ahead and add peanut butter chips, and sometimes I even add butterscotch chips. You could also add nuts to this recipe. I don't myself because I'm allergic to nuts, so I don't want to handle them. But sometimes at Christmas I add cranberries. You could add raisins. There's a variety of things that you can add to this, and you can go online and even find more different things, like some people add maple sugar and all different things. Another one that I like to do is by adding some jam and some honey. And I'm using a red raspberry jam, and that'll mix really good with the chocolate and give you that raspberry chocolate flavor. So now I'm going to go ahead and start on my first batch of fudge. I'll be putting the list of ingredients up at the end of this video, but basically the chips are usually sold in fairly large bags. They're 24 ounces, but you only need about half the bag. You need about 12 ounces. So you can go ahead and measure this out. I'm just going to pour in half the bag. You'll want to work on a very low heat because this can burn quite easily. And as the chips heat, you're going to find that as it gets closer to the end of the cooking time, you're actually going to want to turn the heat off and just let the chips continue to melt. Okay, so you want to constantly stir these chips, and like I said, over a very low heat because you don't want the chips to burn. And then once this all gets melted, we're going to go ahead and add the vanilla and the sweetened condensed milk. And those are the 3 ingredients. And it's going to be kind of creamy once you, stir it all together. And then you're just going to pour it out of there into your casserole pan. Okay, so now I've actually turned my heat off, and I'm just letting this continue to melt. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my sweetened condensed milk. And then I'm going to be putting in my vanilla. And this will give you 1 batch of fudge. So every 1/2 of one of those big bags of morsels makes 1 batch of fudge. Okay, now in addition to the 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla. And that's kind of a lot of vanilla. You could add less if you don't like a lot of vanilla, but I like vanilla. So now if you only wanted to make the 3-ingredient fudge, you're done, and the next step you do is just pour it. I'm going to go ahead and make this particular batch butterscotch. So I have poured out 1 cup of butterscotch chips. And this time I measured because the bag was 11 ounces. So I wanted to make sure I got it right. And I'm also turning my heat back on just to make sure that these chips melt really well into the chocolate. Just gonna leave that on for just a minute because I'm gonna wanna turn it off and just let the heat from the eye do the rest of the melting. Okay, so now I'm just putting the last little bit in, and make sure that you spread it all evenly, and before you put it in, spray that pan. So now I'm just gonna stick it in the fridge, and it's gonna need to cool for about 30 to 60 minutes. So I wanted to remind all of you to read my blog at karinmariaskitchen.blogspot.com, and if you want to friend me on Facebook, you can find me at first name Karin, K-A-R-I-N, last name Maria, M-A-R-I-A. My fudge is finished and I made several batches. I have a few batches of peanut butter and one of white chocolate and a few of chocolate. And you're probably wondering why I made so much fudge. Well, it's back to school time and it actually makes great teacher's gifts. See you next time, everyone.